A lonely millionaire cries about losing his daughter, until hungry twins knock on his door and beg, "Sir, could you give us a plate of food? We haven't eaten for 3 days." He is shocked. They were identical to his dead daughter. If this story interested you, subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to like this video and tell us which city you're watching us from. We'll keep going. Thomas Morrison stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse apartment, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. The prestigious architectural firm he had built from the ground up had just won another award, yet the gleaming trophy on his desk felt as hollow as the rest of his achievements. His fingers traced the cold glass, leaving temporary marks that faded like the memories he desperately tried to hold on to. The apartment, a masterpiece of modern design that he had crafted himself, felt more like a museum than a home. Every surface was immaculate, every piece of furniture carefully chosen, but the perfection only highlighted what was missing. The laughter, the chaos, the warmth that once filled these rooms had been replaced by an oppressive silence. He made his way to the kitchen, his footsteps echoing through the empty space. The refrigerator hummed softly as he pulled out a bottle of wine, a ritual that had become all too familiar in recent months. The label read 2015, the year everything changed. He poured himself a glass, the rich red liquid swirling like the thoughts in his head. The wall opposite him held a collection of photographs carefully arranged in elegant frames. His eyes were drawn to one in particular, a young girl with golden hair and bright blue eyes, her smile radiating pure joy. Emma, his daughter, his world. The image blurred as tears welled up in his eyes. Thomas took his wine to his study, where blueprints and sketches covered his desk. Work had become his refuge, the only place where he could pretend that everything was normal. He immersed himself in lines and angles, in the precise calculations that had always made sense to him. But lately, even his passion for architecture felt distant, mechanical. The phone rang, startling him from his thoughts. It was Claire, his assistant, reminding him about tomorrow's client meeting. He listened absently, making appropriate noises of acknowledgement, while his eyes drifted to the empty chair across from his desk. Emma used to sit there drawing her own blueprints while he worked, her small face scrunched in concentration as she tried to mimic his serious expression. "Mr. Morrison, are you still there?" Claire's voice brought him back to reality. "Yes. Sorry. The Peterson project, 9 a.m., I'll be there," he replied, his voice rough with emotion he couldn't quite hide. After hanging up, Thomas walked through the apartment, turning off lights as he went. He paused at Emma's room, his hand resting on the doorknob. He hadn't changed anything since that day. Her stuffed animals still sat arranged on her bed, her art supplies scattered across her desk, waiting for their owner to return and create new masterpieces. The night was unusually cold for September, and Thomas pulled his robe tighter around himself as he settled into his favorite armchair by the window. The city stretched out before him, millions of lives continuing as if nothing had changed, while his own had ground to a halt 6 months ago. He took another sip of wine, letting the warmth spread through his chest. The apartment felt particularly empty tonight, the silence more oppressive than usual. Outside, storm clouds gathered, promising rain. Thomas remembered how Emma used to love thunderstorms, how she would curl up next to him with a book, feeling safe and protected as the sky put on its dramatic show. The first drops of rain began to hit the windows, creating patterns that reminded him of the tears he couldn't stop from falling. He closed his eyes, letting the memories wash over him. Emma's first steps in this very room, her laughter echoing off these walls, the proud moment she showed him her first real drawing of their house. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and, for a moment, Thomas could almost imagine hearing the patter of small feet running to his chair, seeking comfort from the storm. But when he opened his eyes, he was alone, surrounded by the perfect emptiness he had created. The storm grew stronger, wind howling around the building's corners. Thomas remained in his chair, letting the chaos outside mirror the turmoil in his heart. He had achieved everything he had ever wanted professionally. His firm was respected worldwide, his designs sought after by the most prestigious clients. But success felt meaningless without someone to share it with. As midnight approached, exhaustion began to creep in, but Thomas resisted going to bed. Sleep brought dreams of Emma, dreams so vivid that waking up felt like losing her all over again. Instead, he poured another glass of wine, determined to stay awake until his body couldn't fight it anymore. The storm outside intensified, lightning illuminating the room in brief, harsh flashes. Each burst of light seemed to highlight the spaces where life should be. The empty spot on the couch where Emma used to read. The silent piano that hadn't been played in months. The dining table set for one. Just as Thomas was considering finally retiring to bed, a sound cut through the storm's fury. A sound so unexpected that at first he thought he had imagined it. But there it was again. A knock at his door, soft but distinct, barely audible over the rain. Thomas froze, his wine glass halfway to his lips. Who could possibly be knocking at this hour? His penthouse was secured by the building's best security system, and visitors had to be cleared through the front desk. He glanced at his phone. No missed calls or messages from security. The knocking came again, more insistent this time. Thomas set down his glass and moved cautiously toward the door. Through the peephole, he could barely make out two small figures in the dimly lit hallway. His heart skipped a beat as he realized they were children. Without thinking, he unlocked the door and pulled it open. There, standing in the soft golden light of the hallway, were two girls who couldn't have been more than 10 years old. They were identical twins, with long dark hair and striking blue eyes that seemed to pierce right through him. Their clothes were dirty and worn, but there was something eerily familiar about their faces that made Thomas's breath catch in his throat. "Please, sir," one of them spoke, her voice soft but clear. "Could we have something to eat? We haven't eaten in 2 days." The other girl remained silent, but her eyes held the same pleading look. Thomas stood frozen in the doorway, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. The girl's features, their expressions, they reminded him so much of Emma that, for a moment he thought he must be dreaming, but the storm still raged outside and the children before him were very real. "Come in," he found himself saying, stepping aside to let them pass. The girls entered hesitantly, their small feet leaving wet marks on his pristine floor. They looked around the apartment with wide eyes, taking in the luxurious surroundings. "I'm Sarah," said the one who had spoken before, "and this is my sister. Lucy?" The quiet twin gave a small nod but remained close to her sister's side. Thomas led them to the kitchen, his mind racing with questions. Where had they come from? Where were their parents? How had they gotten past security? But something held him back from asking. Instead, he focused on warming up some soup he had in the refrigerator. As he worked, he couldn't help but steal glances at the girls. They sat at his kitchen island, their posture perfect, despite their bedraggled appearance. There was something almost otherworldly about them, something he couldn't quite put his finger on. "Here you go," he said, placing 2 steaming bowls before them. The girls murmured their thanks and began to eat with careful, measured movements. Thomas watched them, transfixed by their mannerisms. Even the way they held their spoons reminded him of Emma. "Where are your parents?" he finally asked, keeping his voice gentle. The girls exchanged a look that seemed to contain an entire conversation. "Our mother left us," Sarah answered after a long pause. "We've been trying to find her, but—" She trailed off, stirring her soup absently. Lucy reached over and squeezed her sister's hand, and Thomas felt his heart constrict. The gesture was so tender, so protective. It reminded him of how he used to comfort Emma after a bad dream. "You can't stay on the streets," Thomas heard himself say. "It's dangerous. You can sleep here tonight and tomorrow we'll figure out what to do." The words surprised him even as he spoke them, but they felt right. The girls looked up at him with those haunting blue eyes. "Thank you," they said in unison, their voices blending perfectly. Thomas retrieved blankets and pillows, making up the large sofa in the living room. As he worked, he noticed the girls studying the photographs on the wall, particularly the ones of Emma. They stood close together, whispering in voices too low for him to hear. "That was my daughter," he said, surprising himself again. He hadn't spoken about Emma to anyone in months. He couldn't finish the sentence. She was beautiful, Sarah said softly. Lucy nodded, reaching out to touch the frame with gentle fingers. Once the girls were settled on the sofa, Thomas retreated to his room, his mind whirling with the strange events of the evening. Through his partially open door, he could hear them whispering to each other, their voices rising and falling like music. Sleep eluded him as he lay in bed, listening to the storm gradually fade away. The presence of the twins in his home felt both unsettling and oddly right, as if they belonged there. Their faces floated in his mind, merging with memories of Emma, until he could no longer tell where. One set of features ended and another began. Just before dawn, he drifted into an uneasy sleep, his dreams filled with three little girls playing together, their laughter echoing through the empty spaces of his heart. For the first time in months, the dreams didn't end in tears. Thomas woke to the unfamiliar sound of movement in his kitchen. For a moment, he lay still, disoriented, before the events of the previous night came rushing back. The twins. He quickly dressed and made his way to the kitchen, half expecting to find it empty. The strange encounter nothing more than a dream. But there they were. Sarah and Lucy stood at the counter, working in perfect synchronization as they prepared breakfast. They had found his pancake mix and were carefully measuring ingredients into a bowl. Their clothes were still wrinkled and worn, but they had washed their faces and combed their hair, which now shone like dark silk in the morning light. "Good. Morning, Mr. Morrison," they said together, turning to face him with identical small smiles. In the harsh light of day, their resemblance to Emma was even more striking. The way they tilted their heads, the careful precision of their movements, it was uncanny. "You didn't have to cook," Thomas said, moving to take over. But Sarah shook her head. "We want to thank you for helping us," she explained, while Lucy nodded in agreement. "We're good at cooking. Our mother taught us before." She trailed off, that same shadow passing over her face that Thomas had noticed the night before. Thomas sat at the kitchen island, watching them work. They moved around his kitchen as if they had lived there all their lives, anticipating each other's needs without a word. When one reached for the spatula, the other was already holding out the butter. It was like watching a carefully choreographed dance. "Where did you live before?" he asked carefully, noting how they both tensed slightly at the question. "With our mother," Lucy spoke for the first time that morning, her voice identical to her sister's. "In a house by the sea. But then things changed." She poured batter onto the griddle with precise movements, forming perfect circles. "What kind of things?" Thomas pressed gently, but the girls exchanged another of their mysterious looks and remained silent. The pancakes they served were perfect, golden brown and fluffy, arranged artfully on the plates with fresh berries they had found in his refrigerator. They sat on either side of him at the island, their movements still synchronized as they cut their food into careful, identical bites. "You'll need clean clothes," Thomas said, watching them eat, "and other things. We should go shopping today." The words surprised him even as he spoke them. He hadn't planned on the girls staying longer, hadn't planned anything at all, really. But the thought of sending them away made his chest tighten painfully. The twins looked up at him with those penetrating blue eyes. "You want us to stay?" Sarah asked, her voice careful, controlled. "Just until we figure things out," Thomas replied. But even as he said it, he knew it wasn't entirely true. Something about these girls pulled at him, filled the empty spaces in his home with a presence that felt right, despite all the questions and mysteries surrounding them. "We'd like that," Lucy said softly. And for a moment, her reserved expression cracked, revealing a flash of something that looked like hope. After breakfast, Thomas called his office, something he had never done before. "Claire, I need to take a few personal days," he told his surprised assistant. "Reschedule everything until next week." The girls helped him clean up, washing dishes with the same precise care they had shown while cooking. As they worked, Thomas noticed more details about them. The way they both hummed the same tune under their breath, how they seemed to communicate without words, the grace of their movements that seemed beyond their years. "We should get ready to go shopping," he said when the kitchen was spotless. But first, he hesitated, then walked to Emma's room. He hadn't opened those doors since that day, but now he found himself turning the handle. The room was exactly as he had left it, preserved like a museum exhibit. Sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the air. Thomas went to the closet and pulled out some of Emma's newer clothes, ones that might fit the twins. When he returned to the living room, he found Sarah and Lucy standing before the wall of photographs again, studying them intently. They turned as he approached, and something in their expressions made him pause. There was a knowledge in their eyes that seemed far too deep for children their age. "These might fit you," he said, holding out the clothes. They were Emma's." His voice caught on her name. The girls accepted the clothes with solemn reverence, handling them as if they were made of the finest silk. "Thank you," Sarah whispered, and Lucy reached out to touch his hand briefly, her small fingers cool against his skin. As they disappeared into the bathroom to change, Thomas sank onto the sofa, his head spinning with questions. Who were these mysterious children who had appeared at his door in the middle of the night? Why did they seem so familiar, yet so otherworldly? And why did he feel such a strong connection to them after less than a day? He looked at Emma's photograph, on the wall at her bright smile and shining eyes. For the first time since losing her, the sight didn't bring immediate pain. Instead, he felt something else, a strange sense of purpose, as if the universe had sent him these two lost children for a reason. The shopping mall was a world away from Thomas's usual environment of sleek office buildings and construction sites. He felt oddly vulnerable as he guided the twins through the crowded spaces, hyper-aware of the curious glances thrown their way. The girls walked close to him, their hands clasped together, wearing Emma's clothes that fit them perfectly, another detail that made his head spin with questions. "Let's start here," he said, leading them into a children's clothing store. The girls moved through the racks with the same precise grace they had shown in his kitchen, selecting items in matching styles but different colors, Sarah gravitating toward deep blues, Lucy toward forest greens. As they shopped, Thomas noticed how they always stayed within arm's reach of each other, how they seemed to share thoughts with just a glance. They were unfailingly polite to the sales assistants, but their responses to questions about sizes and preferences were carefully measured, revealing nothing about themselves. "Do you like these?" Sarah asked, holding up a pair of dresses. The style was eerily similar to one Emma had loved, though Thomas was certain he had never seen these particular dresses before. "They're perfect," he said, his voice rough. Lucy touched his arm gently, her eyes full of understanding, and for a moment he felt as if she could see right through him, reading every thought and emotion he was trying to hide. They moved on to other stores, gathering everything the girls might need. Thomas found himself falling into a strange rhythm with them, anticipating their needs, understanding their silent communications. It felt both natural and surreal, like a dream he couldn't quite wake up from. At the bookstore, the twins headed straight for the classics section, selecting volumes that seemed far beyond their years. Thomas watched as they discussed the merits of different editions in hushed voices, their heads bent together over the pages. "You like to read?" he asked, remembering how Emma had shared his love of books. "Our mother taught us that books are windows to other worlds," Sarah replied, while Lucy nodded, running her fingers along the spines of the books they had chosen. "And what world are you from?" Thomas found himself asking, the question slipping out before he could stop it. The twins looked up at him with those mysterious eyes, and for a moment he thought he saw something flicker in their expressions, a depth of knowledge, a hint of secrets that made his skin prickle with goosebumps. "We're from wherever we need to be," Lucy said softly, her first complete sentence of the day. Sarah squeezed her sister's hand, and they turned back to the books, effectively ending the conversation. During lunch at a quiet cafe, Thomas watched them eat their sandwiches with identical, precise movements. They sat close together on one side of the booth, presenting a united front to the world. Every now and then they would look up at him with those penetrating gazes, as if they were studying him just as carefully as he was studying them. "Tell us about your work," Sarah said suddenly, setting down her sandwich. "About the buildings you create." Thomas found himself talking about his latest project, a sustainable community center that had been challenging him for months. The twins listened intently, asking surprisingly insightful questions about design principles and environmental impact. "You understand architecture?" he asked, amazed by their knowledge. "We understand creation," Lucy replied cryptically, and Sarah nodded in agreement. As they made their way back to the car, laden with shopping bags, Thomas felt a strange sense of contentment settling over him. The girl's presence beside him felt right, as if they were filling a space that had been waiting for them all along. In the parking garage, Sarah stopped, suddenly causing Lucy to halt in perfect synchronization. They both turned to look at Thomas with an intensity that made him catch his breath. "Thank you," Sarah said, her voice carrying a weight that seemed beyond her years. "For everything." "We know what it means," Lucy added, her eyes seeming to glow in the dim light of the garage. What means?" Thomas asked, but they had already turned away, moving toward the car with their ethereal grace. As he drove home, Thomas glanced in the rearview mirror at the twins sitting in the back seat. They were whispering to each other, their words too, soft to hear, their faces animated in a way he hadn't seen before. The afternoon sun caught their hair, creating halos around their heads, and for a moment they looked almost transparent, like figures in a dream. He thought about their cryptic comments, their mysterious appearances, the way they seemed to know things they shouldn't. Every answer they gave only led to more questions, yet Thomas found himself less interested in solving the mystery and more focused on the growing feeling that these girls were meant to be part of his life. As they approached his building, the farce, twins fell silent, their expressions becoming solemn once again. Thomas couldn't shake the feeling that they were preparing themselves for something, though he had no idea what. When he caught their eyes in the mirror again, they were watching him with that same knowing look, as if they held secrets that could change his world forever. Back in the apartment, Thomas watched as the twins unpacked their new belongings with methodical precision. Each item was carefully folded and placed in Emma's old dresser, which they had silently decided to share. The scene struck him as both heartwarming and unsettling. Their movements were too perfect, too synchronized, as if they were performing a well-rehearsed dance. "Mr. Morrison," Sarah called softly, holding up a framed photograph she'd found in the dresser drawer. It showed Emma at her last birthday party, blowing out candles on a cake shaped like a castle. She loved celebrations, didn't she? Thomas felt his throat tighten. "Yes, she did. How did you—" "We can feel it," Lucy answered, running her fingers along the frame's edge. "The joy is still here in the walls, in the air." She closed her eyes briefly, as if listening to something only she could hear. Thomas sank onto Emma's bed, watching the twins move around the room. They touched everything with reverence. Emma's old stuffed animals, her collection of seashells, the dream catcher hanging by the window. It was as if they were reading stories in these objects, understanding things about his daughter that even he hadn't known. "Tell us about her," Sarah said, sitting cross-legged on the floor near his feet. Lucy joined her, their shoulders touching, creating a perfect mirror image. "Tell us about Emma." The request caught him off guard. He hadn't spoken about Emma to anyone since that day, hadn't been able to form the words without breaking down. But looking at these mysterious girls, with their knowing eyes and gentle presence, the words began to flow. "She was extraordinary," he began, his voice barely above a whisper. "She could find beauty in everything, even when I was too busy. With work too focused on my next project, she would drag me to the window to show me a particularly beautiful cloud, or how the sunrise turned the buildings into gold." The twins listened intently, their eyes never leaving his face. As he spoke, Thomas noticed something strange. The room seemed to grow warmer, and the afternoon light took on a golden quality that reminded him of those mornings with Emma. "She wanted to be an architect like me," he continued, smiling at the memory, "but she said she would design houses for fairies and mermaids, places where magic could live. I told her that wasn't practical, that she needed to think about real buildings." He paused, regret washing over him. "I should have encouraged her dreams more." Dreams are more real than most people think, Lucy said, her voice carrying an odd resonance. Sarah nodded, adding, "Sometimes they're the most real thing of all." A sudden breeze rustled through the room, though all the windows were closed. The dream catcher by the window began to spin slowly, its feathers dancing in the inexplicable wind. Thomas felt a shiver run down his spine. "What are you?" he asked before he could stop himself. "Who are you really?" The twins exchanged one of their mysterious looks, a whole conversation passing between them in seconds. Finally, Sarah spoke, her voice gentle but firm. "We're here to help, Mr. Morrison. That's all you need to know for now." "Help with what?" "With remembering," Lucy answered, "and with forgetting." Before Thomas could ask what they meant, both girls stood in one fluid motion. "We should make dinner," Sarah said, effectively ending the conversation. "Would you like to help us?" Thomas followed them to the kitchen, his mind spinning with questions. As they prepared the meal together, he noticed more unusual things, how ingredients seemed to appear in their hands before they reached for them, how the kitchen filled with delicious aromas faster than should have been possible, how the lights seemed to brighten and dim in response to their movements. During dinner, the twins told stories about their life by the sea, but Thomas noticed they never mentioned specific places or dates. Their tales were filled with descriptions of ocean mists, mysterious lights, and songs carried on the wind. They spoke of their mother in abstract terms, describing her more as a presence than a person. "She taught us everything we needed to know," Sarah explained, pushing her food around her plate, "about the world, about what we are, about our purpose." "And what is your purpose?" Thomas asked. Lucy looked up at him, her eyes seeming to glow in the dimming light. "To be where we're needed most," she said simply. After dinner, as Thomas watched the twins wash dishes with their usual precise movements, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was standing on the edge of something profound. These girls had brought something into his life, something beyond the obvious comfort of their presence, something that whispered of possibilities he had never considered before. Later that night, as he passed by Emma's room on his way to bed, he heard the twins singing softly. The melody was unlike anything he'd ever heard before, yet it seemed to reach into his heart and touch something deep and painful. He stood in the hallway, listening, as tears rolled down his cheeks. Not tears of sadness this time, but of something else, something he couldn't quite name. The next morning, Thomas woke to find the apartment filled with an ethereal light that seemed to dance along the walls. He found the twins in the living room, sitting cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by his architectural drawings. They were studying the blueprints with intense concentration, their fingers tracing the lines in perfect synchronization. "These buildings," Sarah said without looking up, "they're missing something important." "What do you mean?" Thomas asked, settling onto the couch behind them. Lucy turned to face him, her eyes reflecting that strange light. "They're perfect in form, but they lack spirit, like beautiful shells without souls." Thomas felt a defensive response rise in his throat, but something in the twins' expressions made him pause. They weren't criticizing, they were seeing something he couldn't. "Show us how you design," Sarah requested, holding out a blank piece of paper and a pencil. Thomas sat down between them and began to sketch, explaining his process as he worked. The twins watched intently, their heads tilted at identical angles. As he drew, he felt something shift in the air around them, as if the very atmosphere was paying attention. "You see?" he said, pointing to the clean lines of his latest design, the functionality, the flow of space, the practical considerations. "But where is the joy?" Lucy interrupted softly. "Where is the place for dreams to live?" "Dreams don't pay bills," Thomas replied automatically, then winced at how much he sounded like his old self. Sarah picked up a pencil and began to draw on the corner of his sketch. Her lines were delicate but sure, adding curves and spaces that shouldn't have worked with his rigid design but somehow did. Lucy joined in from the other side, their additions merging seamlessly. Thomas watched, transfixed, as his practical building transformed. The twins added elements that reminded him of Emma's fanciful drawings, secret corners, unexpected windows, spaces that seemed to defy physics while remaining structurally sound. "How do you know how to do this?" he whispered. "We know many things," Sarah answered, her pencil never stopping. "Some from learning, some from being. And some," Lucy added, "from remembering what others have forgotten." As they worked, Thomas noticed that the strange light in the room seemed to concentrate around their hands, making the drawings shimmer slightly. He blinked, sure he was imagining things, but the effect remained. "Emma used to draw like this," he said suddenly, the realization hitting him like a physical force. "She would add these same kinds of spaces to my drawings. I always told her they weren't practical." The twins stopped drawing simultaneously, looking up at him with those penetrating eyes. "Perhaps," Sarah suggested gently, "she understood something you had forgotten." "What do you mean?" "That buildings aren't just structures," Lucy explained, her voice taking on that odd resonance again. "They're vessels for life, for dreams, for memories. Like this apartment," Sarah added, gesturing around them. "It holds so many memories, so much love, can't you feel it?" Thomas looked around his home with new eyes. In the strange morning light, he could almost see what they meant. The walls seemed to pulse with remembered laughter, with moments of joy and sadness, with all the life that had been lived here. "We could help you remember," Lucy said softly, taking his hand. Her touch was cool but somehow energizing, sending tiny sparks of awareness through his skin. "Remember what?" Thomas asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Everything," Sarah answered, taking his other hand. "Everything you've locked away because it hurt too much to keep it close." The room grew very still, the strange light gathering around them like a cocoon. Thomas felt something shift inside him, as if a door he had firmly closed was slowly beginning to open. "But first," Lucy said, "breaking the moment, you need to trust us. Trust that we're here for a reason," Sarah continued. "Even if that reason isn't clear yet," they finished together. Thomas looked down at their small hands in his, then at the drawing they had created together. His practical design had been transformed into something magical, yet somehow more real, more alive. Just like his apartment had been transformed by their presence. "I think," he said slowly, "I already do trust you, even though I don't understand any of this." The twins smiled, their first real unguarded smile since they had arrived, and for a moment they looked exactly like normal children. Then the strange light flickered around them again, and Thomas caught a glimpse of something else in their faces, something ancient and wise and not quite human. "Understanding will come," Sarah assured him. "When you're ready," Lucy added. They turned back to the drawings as if nothing unusual had happened, but Thomas knew something had shifted fundamentally in his world. He was no longer simply providing shelter to two lost children. He was stepping into something much bigger, much more mysterious, and somehow connected to everything he had lost. That evening, as thunder rolled in the distance, Thomas found himself drawn to Emma's room once again. The twins were there, sitting by the window, their silhouettes outlined by occasional flashes of lightning. They seemed to be waiting for him. "You're beginning to see, aren't you?" Sarah asked as he entered. She was holding Emma's old music box, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns on its surface. "See what?" Thomas asked, though part of him already knew the answer. "The threads that connect everything," Lucy replied. "The patterns in the spaces between what's real and what isn't." The music box in Sarah's hand suddenly opened by itself, its melody filling the room. Thomas recognized the tune. It was Emma's favorite lullaby, one he hadn't heard since that day. But something was different about it now. The notes seemed to hang in the air longer than they should, creating shapes of sound that he could almost see. "How are you doing that?" he whispered, watching as the music seemed to weave patterns of light in the darkening room. "We're not doing anything," Sarah said, closing the music box gently. "We're just helping you remember how to see." Thunder crashed closer now, and the room filled with that strange golden light that seemed to follow the twins everywhere. Thomas watched in amazement as shadows on the walls began to move, forming shapes that reminded him of Emma's drawings. Your daughter, Lucy said softly. She could see too. That's why her drawings were different. That's why she understood things that others didn't. Thomas felt his heart skip a beat. What do you mean she could see? The twins exchanged one of their meaningful looks before Sarah continued. Some people are born with the ability to see beyond the veil of what most consider reality. Emma was one of them. Like you? Thomas asked, his voice barely audible over the storm outside. We're something else entirely, Lucy replied, her voice carrying that otherworldly resonance again. We're here because of what Emma saw, what she knew. Lightning flashed again, and for a brief moment Thomas thought he saw something impossible. The twins' shadows on the wall didn't match their forms. Instead of two little girls, he saw shapes that seemed to shift and flow like living light. I don't understand, he said, struggling to process what he was seeing. You do, Sarah insisted gently. Deep down, you've always understood. That's why you were so protective of Emma, why you worried about her imagination so much. Part of you knew she was special. Memories flooded Thomas's mind. Emma talking to people who weren't there, drawing buildings that couldn't exist, telling him about the lights she saw dancing in the air. He had always dismissed these things, had even taken her to doctors about them, worried about her grip on reality. Oh God, he whispered, sinking onto her bed. I tried to make her stop seeing. I tried to make her be normal. You were trying to protect her, Lucy said, moving to sit beside him. Her small hand found his, and he felt that now familiar spark of energy. That's what parents do. But she never stopped seeing, Sarah added, joining them. She just stopped telling you about it. She knew it made you worried, made you sad. The storm outside reached its peak, but the thunder seemed muffled now, as if the room existed in its own pocket of space. The golden light grew stronger, and Thomas could swear he heard whispers in the air, fragments of conversations long past. The day I lost her, Thomas began, his voice breaking. She'd tried to tell me something. She was so excited, said she had seen something amazing. But I was busy with a project deadline. Told her it could wait. She saw us, the twins said in unison, their voices blending into one otherworldly tone. Thomas felt the world tilt beneath him. What? She saw us coming, Sarah explained. She knew we would be needed. Needed for what? Thomas asked, though something in his heart already knew the answer. To help heal what was broken, Lucy said softly. To help you remember what you've forgotten. To help you understand what she tried to show you, Sarah added. The room filled, with that strange music again, though the music box remained closed. Thomas felt something shift in the air around them, as if reality itself was becoming fluid, malleable. Emma's gift wasn't just seeing things others couldn't, Lucy continued. She could see the truth of things, the beauty in the spaces between what is and what could be. Just like your buildings, Mr. Morrison, she saw how they could be more than just structures. They could be bridges between worlds. Between worlds? Thomas repeated, his mind struggling to grasp what they were telling him. Between what is and what could be, Sarah clarified. Between memory and possibility. Between loss and healing. Lightning flashed again, and this time Thomas clearly saw their true forms reflected on the wall, beings of light and shadow, ancient and young at the same time, carrying within them echoes of every child who had ever dreamed of magic. What are you? He asked again, but this time without fear, only wonder. The twins smiled, their faces illuminated by the strange light that seemed to emanate from within them. We are what? Emma saw, they said together. We are what she knew was coming. We are the answer to a question you haven't asked yet. The next morning dawned clear and bright, as if the previous night's storm had washed away a veil from the world. Thomas found himself looking at everything differently. The way light played on surfaces, the shadows that seemed to hold secrets, the spaces between things that now felt alive with possibility. The twins were in the kitchen again, but this time they weren't cooking. They sat at the island, surrounded by his architectural drawings, but these weren't his current projects. These were old sketches, ideas he had abandoned years ago when he chose practicality over creativity. "Where did you find these?" he asked, recognizing drawings he thought he had thrown away long ago. "They were waiting to be found," Sarah replied, smoothing out a crumpled sketch of a building that seemed to defy gravity. "Like us." "These were your dreams once," Lucy added, holding up another drawing. "Before you decided dreams weren't practical enough." Thomas took the sketch from her hands, remembering the night he had drawn it. He had been fresh out of architecture school, full of wild ideas about buildings that could change the way people lived, spaces that could transform the human experience. "What happened to these designs?" Sarah asked, though her tone suggested she already knew the answer. "Reality happened," Thomas said, sitting down heavily on a kitchen stool. "Clients wanted conventional buildings, banks wanted safe investments, and I wanted success." "And you got it," Lucy observed, her voice gentle but firm. "But at what cost?" The morning light streaming through the windows suddenly shifted, creating patterns on the drawings that seemed to make them come alive. Thomas watched mesmerized as the lines appeared to move, showing him possibilities he had never considered. "Emma used to do this," he whispered. "She would take my practical drawings and add magic to them. I always thought she was just playing." "She was showing you what she could see," Sarah said, placing her hand over one of the sketches. Where her fingers touched, the lines began to glow softly. The potential in everything, the magic that exists in the spaces between what is and what could be. "Like these spaces," Lucy added, gesturing to the apartment around them. "This home isn't just walls and windows. It's a container for memories, for love, for possibility. Emma knew that. She tried to show you." Thomas felt tears welling up in his eyes as he remembered all the times he had dismissed Emma's additions to his drawings, all the times he had told her to be more practical, more grounded in reality. "Watch," the twins said in unison, and began to move their hands over the drawings in perfect synchronization. The papers began to glow with that now familiar golden light, and suddenly the designs weren't just lines on paper anymore. They seemed to rise up, creating ghostly three-dimensional forms in the air between them. Thomas saw his abandoned dreams take shape, buildings that danced with light, structures that seemed to grow from the earth itself, spaces that invited wonder and imagination. "This is what Emma saw when she looked at your work," Sarah explained, as the ethereal models shifted and changed. "She saw what your buildings could become if you allowed yourself to dream again." "But it's impossible," Thomas protested weakly, even as he reached out to touch one of the floating images. "Buildings can't..." "Can't what?" Lucy interrupted, gently. "Can't be magical, can't transform lives, can't bridge the gap between what is and what could be." The ghostly models began to shift again, and Thomas recognized elements from Emma's drawings beginning to appear in them. Secret gardens growing in unexpected places, windows that seemed to look into other worlds, spaces that defied conventional physics while remaining somehow possible. "Your daughter understood something profound," Sarah said, her voice taking on that otherworldly quality again. "She knew that architecture isn't just about creating spaces for people to exist in. It's about creating spaces for dreams to become real," Lucy finished. The morning light continued to shift and dance around them, turning the kitchen into something that felt both familiar and utterly magical. Thomas found himself seeing his home through new eyes, not just as the carefully designed space he had created, but as something alive with possibility, with memory, with love. "Is this why you're here?" he asked the twins. "To show me what Emma saw?" "We're here for many reasons," Sarah replied, sharing another mysterious look with her sister. "And helping you see again is just the beginning," Lucy added, as the ghostly models slowly faded away, leaving only the original drawings on the counter, now somehow changed, as if they had absorbed some of the magic they had just displayed. The weekend arrived with an unusual warmth for September, bringing with it a sense of anticipation that Thomas couldn't quite explain. He found the twins in Emma's room early that morning, arranging her old toys in a pattern that seemed random at first glance, but slowly revealed itself to be something more deliberate. "What are you doing?" he asked, watching as they placed each item with precise care. Creating a bridge, Sarah replied, positioning Emma's favorite stuffed elephant in what appeared to be the center of the pattern. A bridge to what? To understanding, Lucy answered, placing a crystal prism next to the elephant. When the morning light hit it, rainbow patterns danced across the room, but they moved in ways that defied physics, creating shapes that reminded Thomas of the architectural drawings they had brought to life in the kitchen. Today is important, the twins said together, their voices carrying that otherworldly resonance that still sent shivers down Thomas's spine. Why? Because you're ready to see more, Sarah said, standing back to survey their work. Ready to remember what you've forgotten, Lucy added, joining her sister. The pattern they had created with Emma's toys began to emit a soft glow, similar to the strange light that seemed to follow the twins everywhere. Thomas watched in amazement as the light began to take shape, forming what looked like a doorway made of pure energy. Emma used to do this too, Sarah said softly. Create doorways to other places, other possibilities. No, Thomas protested weakly. She just had an active imagination. She would pretend. Was it pretend? Lucy interrupted gently. Or did you just choose to see it that way? Memories flooded Thomas's mind. Emma showing him doorways she had created in her room, insisting he could step through them if he just believed. He had always smiled indulgently, praising her creativity while dismissing the possibility that she might be showing him something real. Watch, the twins commanded in unison. They stepped into the pattern of toys, and the light around them intensified. Thomas felt the air in the room change, becoming thick with possibility. The twins began to hum a melody that seemed to resonate with the very walls of the apartment. Suddenly, the room shifted. The walls became transparent, revealing not the city beyond, but a landscape of pure imagination. Buildings that grew like trees, structures that floated in the air, spaces that folded in on themselves, in beautiful, impossible ways. This is what Emma saw, Sarah explained, her voice echoing strangely in the transformed space. This is what she tried to show you in her drawings. The world behind the world, Lucy added, the place where dreams become real. Thomas stepped forward, his hand reaching out to touch one of the impossible structures. It felt solid under his fingers, despite its ethereal appearance. How is this possible? The same way your buildings are possible, Sarah said, through imagination made real, through belief given form. Emma understood this, Lucy continued. She saw the connections between what you create and what exists in this place. She tried to bridge the gap. The landscape shifted again, and Thomas gasped as he recognized elements from his own architectural designs, but transformed into something more magical, more alive. He saw how Emma had tried to incorporate these elements into her drawings, how she had attempted to show him the potential that existed in his work. That day, he whispered, realization dawning. The day I lost her, she said she had something amazing to show me. She had found a way, Sarah confirmed, her eyes glowing with that strange inner light. A way to what? To make you see, Lucy answered, to show you what was possible. The room rippled around them, the magical landscape fading back into the familiar confines of Emma's bedroom. But nothing looked quite the same to Thomas anymore. He could see traces of that other world in the shadows, in the way light played, across surfaces, in the spaces between things. This is why you're here, he said, looking at the twins with new understanding. You're like her. You can see these things too. We're more than that, Sarah said, sharing a significant look with her sister. We're what she saw coming, Lucy explained. What she knew would be needed. Needed for what? The twins moved, in perfect synchronization, reaching out to take his hands. Where their skin touched his, he felt that familiar spark of energy, but this time it was stronger, more purposeful. To help you finish what she started, they said together. To help you build the bridge she couldn't complete, Sarah added. Between this world and that one, Lucy finished. Thomas looked around the room, seeing it with new eyes, not just as a shrine to his lost daughter, but as a workspace where she had tried to create something magnificent. He saw her drawings differently now, understanding them as blueprints rather than fantasies. She was trying to show me how to make it real, he whispered. All those times, she added to my drawings. She was showing you the way, the twins confirmed. And now? Now it's time for you to learn what she knew, Sarah said. Time for you to see what she saw, Lucy added. The toys arranged on the floor began to glow again, their patterns suddenly making perfect sense to Thomas's architect's eye. It was a blueprint, a design for something that bridged the gap between reality and imagination, between loss and healing, between what was and what could be. Later that day, Thomas sat at his drafting table, surrounded by Emma's drawings and his own designs. The twins stood on either side of him, their presence lending a subtle glow to the afternoon light that filtered through the windows. Look at them together, Sarah instructed, placing one of Emma's colorful sketches beside his precise technical drawings. See how they complement each other. Thomas studied the papers before him, and for the first time he truly saw what Emma had been trying to show him. Her seemingly fanciful additions to his designs weren't just childish embellishments. They were suggestions for something greater, something that bridged the gap between imagination and reality. She wasn't just drawing, Lucy said softly, touching one of Emma's sketches. Where her finger met the paper, the lines seemed to shimmer. She was creating blueprints for possibilities. But how can I make these real? Thomas asked, gesturing to the impossible structures in Emma's drawings. These defy the laws of physics. Do they? Sarah questioned, her voice carrying that otherworldly resonance. Or do they just defy what you've been taught to believe is possible? The twins moved in perfect synchronization, gathering various drawings and arranging them in a complex pattern on the floor. As they worked, Thomas noticed that the shadows in the room began to move strangely, as if responding to some unseen force. Architecture isn't just about buildings, Lucy explained, placing the final drawing in position. It's about creating spaces where different realities can meet. Your daughter understood this instinctively, Sarah added. She saw the potential in every space, every corner, every shadow. The drawings began to glow softly, reminiscent of the doorway the twins had created earlier. Thomas watched in amazement as the lines seemed to lift off the paper, creating three-dimensional forms in the air. These are more than just designs, the twins said in unison. They're keys to unlocking the spaces between worlds. Thomas stood up, walking around the floating images. He could see now how Emma's additions to his practical designs created something entirely new, structures that existed in multiple dimensions at once, spaces that could hold both reality and dreams. But why, he asked, why show me this now? Because it's time, Sarah replied, her eyes reflecting the golden light that filled the room. Time for what? Time to build something extraordinary, Lucy answered. Something that Emma began but couldn't finish. The floating designs shifted and merged, creating a new pattern that took Thomas's breath away. He recognized elements from his own work combined with Emma's vision, forming something that seemed both impossible and perfectly logical. This is what she was trying to create, the twins explained together. A place where loss doesn't mean goodbye, where memories become bridges, where love transcends the boundaries between worlds. Thomas felt his heart skip a beat as understanding began to dawn. Are you saying? Emma knew she wouldn't be able to finish it herself, Sarah said, gently. But she saw us coming. She knew we would help you understand. Help me understand what? That you have the power to build it, Lucy replied. To create a space where the impossible becomes possible, where dreams become reality. The floating designs continued to shift and change, showing Thomas possibilities he had never imagined. He saw how his technical knowledge could be combined with Emma's intuitive understanding of the spaces between worlds. But I'm just an architect, he protested weakly, even as his mind began to see the potential in what they were showing him. You're more than that, the twins said together. You're a bridge builder like Emma was, like we are. You just forgot how to see the possibilities, Sarah added. We're here to help you remember, Lucy finished. The afternoon light grew stronger, filling the room with that now familiar golden glow. Thomas watched as his practical architectural knowledge began to merge with this new understanding, this awareness of the spaces between reality and dreams. Emma's last project, he whispered, remembering something she had said that final morning. She said she was working on something special, something that would change everything. Yes, the twins confirmed. She was creating a blueprint for a bridge between worlds. And now, Sarah said, taking his hand. It's time to finish what she started, Lucy completed, taking his other hand. The room around them seemed to pulse with potential, with possibility, with the promise of something extraordinary about to begin. Thomas felt tears in his eyes, but they weren't tears of sadness anymore. They were tears of understanding, of purpose, of hope. He looked at the twins, these mysterious beings who had brought magic back into his life, who were helping him see what Emma had tried to show him all along. They smiled back at him, their faces glowing with that otherworldly light, and for the first time Thomas felt truly ready to embrace the impossible. The next morning, Thomas woke before dawn, his mind buzzing with new possibilities. He found himself drawn to his home office, where he had stored away his oldest sketchbooks, the ones from before he had chosen practicality over imagination. The twins were already there, as if they had been expecting him. "You're beginning to remember," Sarah said, holding out one of his earliest notebooks. The pages were filled with designs that he had once dismissed as too fantastic, too impossible to build. "These weren't just dreams, were they?" Thomas asked, running his fingers over the aged paper. "Somehow I knew about these possibilities all along." "Some people are born with the ability to see beyond the veil," Lucy explained, her voice gentle. "Like Emma, like you." "But I stopped seeing," Thomas whispered, remembering how he had gradually pushed away his more imaginative designs in favor of practical success. "You chose not to see," Sarah corrected. "There's a difference." The twins moved to the windows, drawing back the curtains to reveal the pre-dawn sky. The city was painted in shades of purple and gold, the buildings silhouetted against the growing light. But now Thomas saw more than just structures of steel and glass. He saw the spaces between them, the possibilities that existed in the shadows and light. "Emma never lost her ability to see," Lucy said, placing her hand against the window. Where her fingers touched the glass, patterns of frost began to form, creating delicate architectural designs. "She tried to keep your gift alive through her drawings, through her additions to my work," Thomas added, understanding dawning. "She wasn't just playing, she was trying to remind me." "Yes," the twins said in unison, "and now it's time to use that gift again." They led him to his drafting table, where Emma's drawings were spread out alongside his own. In the growing morning light, Thomas could see how they complemented each other, his technical precision providing the foundation for her magical innovations. "Watch," Sarah instructed, as she and Lucy placed their hands on the drawings. The papers began to glow with that now familiar golden light, but this time something different happened. The designs began to merge, not just floating in the air as they had before, but actually combining to create something new. "This is what Emma saw," Lucy explained, as the merged designs took shape. The potential when imagination and reality work together. Thomas watched in amazement as his practical architectural knowledge combined with Emma's magical insight. The resulting structure was unlike anything he had ever seen, a building that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, with spaces that folded in on themselves and windows that looked into other worlds. "But how can this be built?" he asked, even as his architect's mind began to see the underlying logic in the seemingly impossible design. "The same way anything is built," Sarah replied. "One piece at a time with understanding and belief. And love," Lucy added softly. "That's the essential component Emma understood best." The merged design continued to evolve, showing Thomas possibilities he had never imagined. He saw how certain angles could create passages between realities, how specific arrangements of space could hold memories like precious gems. Emma was trying to build this, he realized, his voice thick with emotion. Not just a physical structure, but a bridge between worlds. Yes, the twins confirmed. A place where love could transcend the boundaries between what is and what could be. But she knew she wouldn't be able to complete it alone, Sarah said gently. She knew she would need help, Lucy added, from someone who understood both worlds, the practical and the magical. From me, Thomas whispered. The twins nodded, their movements perfectly synchronized. She saw us coming, they said together. She knew we would help you remember, help you understand. The morning light had fully filled the room now, but it seemed different to Thomas's newly awakened senses. He could see the potential in every beam of light, every shadow, every space between spaces. This is why you're here, he said, looking at the twins with new understanding. Not just to help me heal, but to help me build something extraordinary. Something that will change everything, Sarah confirmed. Something that will bridge the gap between loss and love, Lucy added. The merged design floating above the drafting table began to pulse with energy, as if responding to Thomas's understanding. He could see now how his years of architectural experience could be applied to this impossible project, how the practical and the magical could work together to create something unprecedented. Emma knew, he said softly, tears flowing freely now. She knew this was possible all along. Yes, the twins replied, their voices carrying that otherworldly resonance. And now it's time to make her vision real. Thomas looked at the design again, seeing it with both his architect's eye and his newly awakened sense of possibility. For the first time since losing Emma, he felt a sense of purpose that went beyond mere existence. He was about to embark on the most important project of his life, one that would bridge the gap between worlds, between loss and love, between father and daughter. The day progressed with a new sense of urgency as Thomas began to translate the merged designs into workable plans. The twins stayed close, their presence lending a subtle magic to his technical work. Every line he drew seemed to shimmer with possibility. Every calculation opened doors to new understanding. The foundation must be anchored in both worlds, Sarah explained, pointing to a particular section of the design, like the roots of a tree that grow in both soil and sky. The physical structure creates the framework, Lucy added, but it's the spaces between that hold the magic. Thomas worked tirelessly, his architect's training merging with this new awareness of the impossible. He began to see how certain geometric patterns could create resonances between realities, how specific arrangements of space could hold and channel energy. Emma understood this instinctively, he said, looking at her drawings with new appreciation. These weren't just decorative additions, they were functional elements for bridging realities. She saw the patterns that connect everything, the twins said in unison, the sacred geometry that holds the universe together. As the afternoon light filled the room, Thomas noticed something extraordinary. The shadows cast by his drafting tools weren't behaving normally. They seemed to move with purpose, creating additional layers of design on his papers. The world is helping, Sarah said, watching the shadow patterns form. It wants this bridge to be built. Reality itself is eager for healing, Lucy added, her voice carrying that strange resonance that made the air vibrate. Thomas continued working, incorporating these shadow suggestions into his plans. Each addition seemed to make the design more real, more possible, despite its impossible nature. He could feel something building in the room, a tension, a possibility, a potential about to be realized. Tell me more about what Emma saw, he asked the twins, his hands never stopping their work. Help me understand what she was trying to create. The twins exchanged one of their mysterious looks before Sarah began to speak. She saw the threads that connect all things, love, memory, possibility. She understood that these connections are as real as steel and concrete. She knew that architecture could be more than just shelter, Lucy continued, that it could be a means of healing the rifts between worlds. As they spoke, the room seemed to shift and change around them. The walls became transparent, revealing that other world of possibility that Thomas had glimpsed before. But this time, he could see more clearly, could understand the principles that governed this realm of magic and memory. The bridge she wanted to build, he said slowly, his mind racing with understanding. It's not just a physical structure, is it? No, the twins confirmed. It's a junction point between realities, a place where love can transcend the boundaries of what seems possible. Thomas looked at his drawings again, seeing them with both his professional expertise and his newly awakened spiritual sight. The design was taking shape, a structure that would exist simultaneously in multiple dimensions, anchored in the physical world, but reaching into realms of pure possibility. But why now? He asked, turning to the twins. Why didn't Emma finish this herself? The room grew very still, the magical light concentrating around the mysterious girls. When they spoke, their voices seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Because the bridge needs both sides to be built, Sarah said softly. One architect in this world, Lucy added, and one in the other. They finished together. Thomas felt his heart stop for a moment as the full implication of their words hit him. Emma. She's building from the other side? The twins nodded, their movements perfectly synchronized. She's been waiting, Sarah explained gently. Waiting for you to remember how to see, Lucy added. Waiting for us to help you understand, they said together. The afternoon light suddenly intensified, filling the room with that golden glow that seemed to follow the twins everywhere. Thomas watched in amazement as his latest drawings began to shimmer and shift, revealing additional layers of design that hadn't been visible before. These are her additions, he whispered, recognizing. The style, the energy, the love embedded in every line. She's still working with me, isn't she? She never stopped, the twins confirmed. Every time you drew, she was there, adding her understanding to your expertise. But I couldn't see it, Thomas said, his voice thick with emotion. Until now, Sarah said softly. Until you were ready, Lucy added. Thomas looked at the designs again, seeing both his work and Emma's contributions clearly for the first time. The bridge they were creating together would be more than just a connection between worlds. It would be a testament to the power of love, to transcend all boundaries, all limitations, all losses. We need to build this, he said, with sudden certainty. We need to make this real. The twins smiled, their faces glowing with that otherworldly light. Yes, they said together, the time has come to begin. Outside, the city continued its normal rhythm, unaware that in this room, something extraordinary was taking shape. A project that would challenge the boundaries of reality itself, a bridge built from love, memory, and the unshakable bond between a father and daughter. As the week progressed, Thomas's apartment transformed into something extraordinary. The walls seemed to pulse with possibility, and the boundaries between reality and imagination became increasingly fluid. The twins had helped him clear out his living room, creating a space where the physical and magical could merge. The construction must begin here, Sarah explained, as they marked out an intricate pattern on the floor using Emma's old toys and Thomas's drafting tools, in the place where love already bridges both worlds. Your home holds the strongest memories, Lucy added, placing Emma's favorite crystal prism at the center of the pattern. It's the perfect foundation for what we're building. Thomas watched as the morning light struck the crystal, sending rainbow patterns dancing across the walls. But these weren't ordinary reflections. They seemed to create doorways of light, revealing glimpses of that other world he was gradually learning to see. Look, the twins said in unison, pointing to one of the light doorways. She's working too. Thomas's heart skipped a beat as he saw what they meant. In the shimmering portal, he could make out faint lines appearing, architectural elements that matched perfectly with the designs spread out before him. The style was unmistakably Emma's, but now he could see the sophisticated understanding behind what he had once dismissed as childish additions. She's drawing the other side of the bridge, he whispered, watching the ethereal lines take shape. She's creating the anchoring points in her reality. Yes, Sarah confirmed, her voice carrying that otherworldly resonance. The bridge must be built from both sides, each reality reaching toward the other. Like two hands stretching across a divide, Lucy added softly. Thomas began to work, his architect's training merging seamlessly with this new understanding of magical construction. He could feel Emma's presence as he drew, could sense her contributions appearing in the spaces between his lines. They worked in perfect synchronization, father and daughter, separated by the veil between worlds but united in purpose. The twins moved around the room in their mysterious dance, their presence seeming to strengthen the connection between realities. Where they walked, the air shimmered with possibility, and Thomas could see his designs beginning to take physical form in the space around them. "The framework is forming," Sarah observed, touching one of the ethereal structures that had begun to materialize. "The bridge is becoming real in both worlds. But it needs more than just design," Lucy reminded them. "It needs the power of memory, of love, of understanding." Thomas nodded, reaching for Emma's old sketchbook. As he opened it, the pages seemed to glow with their own light. "She left us instructions," he realized, seeing her drawings with new eyes. "She knew this would happen. She prepared everything we'd need." The twins smiled their mysterious smile. "She saw far more than most people understood," they said together. "She knew the bridge would require both technical skill and magical insight." "Both architect and dreamer," Sarah added. "Both father and daughter," Lucy finished. As they worked, Thomas began to notice strange phenomena around them. Objects in the room would shift slightly when no one was looking. Shadows moved against the flow of light, and sometimes he could hear faint echoes of Emma's laughter carried on impossible breezes. "The boundaries are getting thinner," the twins explained, watching as another ghostly structural element materialized in the space. "The bridge is creating connections even as we build it." Thomas could feel it too, a growing sense of proximity to something extraordinary. Each line he drew, each calculation he made, seemed to bring him closer to understanding the full scope of what Emma had envisioned. "But how will we know when it's ready?" he asked, watching as another of his designs took ethereal form in the air. "How will we know when the bridge is complete?" The twins exchanged one of their meaningful looks before Sarah spoke. "The bridge will tell us," she said softly. "It will let us know when both sides have reached far enough toward each other. When the connection is strong enough to hold," Lucy added, her voice distant, as if she too was listening for something beyond normal hearing. As if in response to their words, the crystal prism at the center of their pattern began to pulse with a gentle light. The rainbow reflections on the walls grew stronger, and Thomas could swear he saw movement in them. Familiar shapes, beloved gestures, fragments of memories taking physical form. "She's getting closer," the twins said together, their voices filled with that strange resonance that made the air vibrate. "The bridge is helping her find her way." Thomas felt tears in his eyes as he watched the shifting patterns of light and shadow. Somewhere in those ethereal spaces, his daughter was working just as hard as he was, reaching across the boundaries, between worlds to create something unprecedented. "Keep building," Sarah encouraged gently. "Keep believing. Keep remembering what she taught you about seeing the impossible," Lucy added. Thomas turned back to his work with renewed purpose, his hands steady as they drew the lines that would help bridge the gap between loss and love, between memory and possibility, between father and daughter. In the growing light of that extraordinary day, he could feel the bridge taking shape, not just in physical space, but in the depths of his heart, where love had never stopped reaching for what was lost. As evening approached, the apartment, filled with an extraordinary golden light that seemed to emanate from the very walls. The bridge's ethereal structure had become more defined, its impossible architecture stretching between realities like a dream given form. Thomas stood in the center of the room, surrounded by floating designs and shimmering doorways, while the twins moved in their mysterious dance around the space. "Something's changing," Sarah announced, her voice carrying that otherworldly resonance that made the air tremble. "The bridge is reaching a critical point." "The connections are growing stronger," Lucy added, touching one of the ghostly structural elements, where her fingers met the ethereal surface. Ripples of light spread outward like waves on water. Thomas could feel it too, a building tension in the air, a sense of something extraordinary about to happen. The crystal prism at the center of their pattern was pulsing more intensely now, its rainbow reflections creating complex geometric patterns that matched perfectly with Emma's original designs. "Look," the twins said in unison, pointing to one of the light doorways that had formed on the walls. "She's sending us a message." Thomas watched in amazement as lines of light began to appear in the shimmering portal, forming words in Emma's distinctive handwriting. "I can see it, Dad. I can see the bridge forming. Keep building. Keep believing." His heart seemed to stop. For a moment, as he recognized his daughter's words, her presence suddenly so close he could almost touch it. "Emma," he whispered, reaching out toward the glowing text. "We're almost there, sweetheart. We're almost there." The twins moved to stand beside him, their presence strengthening the connection between worlds. "The bridge needs one final element," Sarah said softly. "The most important part of all," Lucy added. "What is it?" Thomas asked, though something in his heart already knew the answer. "Understanding," the twins said together. "True understanding of what Emma was trying to show you all along." Thomas looked around at the impossible structure taking shape in his living room, the merged designs of father and daughter, the technical and the magical working in perfect harmony. He thought about all the times Emma had tried to show him the magic in his work, all the times he had gently dismissed her additions as mere fantasy. "I understand now," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "She wasn't just adding whimsy to my designs. She was showing me what architecture could really be, a way to bridge the gap between what is and what could be, between the practical and the magical, between worlds," the twins finished for him. As if triggered by his understanding, the ethereal structure began to pulse with new energy. The rainbow patterns from the crystal prism grew more intense, and the air itself seemed to thicken with possibility. "It's happening," Sarah whispered, her eyes glowing with that strange inner light. "The bridge is stabilizing," Lucy added, watching as the ghostly architectural elements became more solid, more real. Thomas could feel the change in his bones, could sense the boundaries between realities growing thinner with each passing moment. The designs he and Emma had created together were taking physical form, creating a space that existed in both worlds simultaneously. Through one of the light doorways, he caught a glimpse of movement, a familiar shape, a beloved presence. "Emma," he called out, his heart racing. The twins clasped hands, their combined energy seeming to strengthen the bridge's structure. "She's very close now," they said together. "The bridge is almost complete." The room filled with that golden light. That seemed to follow the twins everywhere, but now it was different, stronger, more purposeful. Thomas watched in wonder as his technical drawings and Emma's magical additions merged completely, creating something that defied all conventional understanding of architecture. This is what she saw, he realized, finally understanding the full scope of Emma's vision. This is what she was trying to create, not just a connection between worlds, but a way to show that they were never really separate at all. "Yes," the twins confirmed, their voices resonating with power. "Every building you ever designed had the potential for this kind of magic. Emma saw it. And now you see it too," Sarah finished. "And seeing is the first step to believing," Lucy added. The bridge continued to take shape. Around them, its impossible architecture becoming more solid with each passing moment. Through the various doorways of light, Thomas could see glimpses of that other world, the realm where Emma had been working, reaching back toward him with all the love and creativity she possessed. "Keep watching," the twins instructed, their voices filled with anticipation. "Keep believing." "The bridge is almost complete," Sarah said softly. "And when it is," Lucy added, her voice carrying a hint of joy, "everything will change." Thomas stood in the center of the magical construction, his heart full of love and wonder and hope. After all this time, after all the loss and pain, he was finally seeing what Emma had tried to show him, that love could build bridges between any worlds, that imagination could make the impossible real, that the connection between father and daughter could transcend even the boundaries of reality itself. The apartment had become something else entirely, a space that existed between realities, filled with shifting light and impossible architecture. The bridge's structure now dominated the room, its ethereal forms pulsing with an inner light that seemed to beat in time with Thomas's heart. The twins stood at opposite corners of the space, their presence anchoring the magical construction into reality. "It's time," Sarah announced, her voice carrying that otherworldly resonance that made the air shimmer. "The bridge is ready for its final transformation." "The moment Emma has been waiting for," Lucy added, her eyes glowing with that strange inner light. Thomas stood in the center of the room, surrounded by the merged designs that he and Emma had created together. The crystal prism at his feet was now floating slightly above the ground, spinning slowly and casting rainbow patterns that seemed to tear holes in the fabric of reality itself. "What do I need to do?" he asked, feeling the weight of the moment, pressing in around him. "Remember," the twins said in unison. "Remember everything she tried to show you. Remember every moment you dismissed as imagination. Remember every drawing you thought was just a child's fantasy." Thomas closed his eyes, letting the memories wash over him. He saw Emma at her desk, adding magical elements to his practical designs. He saw her pointing out impossible doorways in the corners of rooms, trying to show him the passages between worlds that had always existed. He saw her face on that last morning, bright with excitement about something extraordinary she had discovered. As each memory surfaced, the bridge's structure seemed to respond, its ethereal forms becoming more solid, more real. The light doorways that filled the walls grew stronger, and through them, Thomas could see increasingly clear glimpses of that other world, the realm where Emma had been working all this time. "Look," Sarah called softly, pointing to one of the portals. "She's reaching back." Through the shimmering doorway, Thomas saw something that made his heart stop, a hand, small and familiar, pressing against the barrier between worlds. Emma's hand, drawing lines of light that matched perfectly with the structure they had built. "The bridge goes both ways," Lucy explained, her voice gentle. "She's been building too, creating the anchors on her side that will hold everything together." Thomas watched in wonder as more evidence of Emma's work became visible through the various portals. He could see her designs taking shape in that other reality, could see how perfectly they aligned with what he had created here. Every line, every angle, every impossible curve, they all matched perfectly, as if they had never truly been separated at all. "This is what she was trying to tell me," he whispered, understanding flooding through him. "All those times she added to my drawings, she wasn't just playing, she was showing me the blueprint for this moment." "Yes," the twins confirmed, their voices blending into one otherworldly tone. "She knew that someday you would need to build this bridge. She left you all the instructions you would need." The room filled with that golden light that seemed to follow the twins everywhere, but now it was different, stronger, more purposeful. Thomas could feel the bridge responding to his understanding, could sense the connections between worlds, growing stronger with each passing moment. Through another portal, he caught a glimpse of movement that made his breath catch, a flash of golden hair, a familiar smile, a gesture he would know anywhere. "Emma!" he called out, his voice thick with emotion. "Emma, I see you now, I understand." The air around them seemed to vibrate with possibility as the bridge's structure began to pulse with new energy. The twins moved in perfect synchronization, their mysterious dance weaving patterns of light that strengthened the connections between worlds. "The bridge is almost complete," Sarah announced, her voice carrying across realities. "But it needs one final key to lock everything in place," Lucy added, moving to stand beside her sister. "What key?" Thomas asked, though something in his heart already knew the answer. "The thing that has been building this bridge all along," the twins said together. "The force that can transcend all boundaries, bridge all gaps, heal all separations." "Love," Thomas whispered, understanding at last. As if in response to his word, the crystal prism at the center of the room began to spin faster, its rainbow patterns creating a vortex of light that seemed to pull at the very fabric of reality. Through the swirling colors, Thomas could see more clearly into that other world, could see Emma working on her side of the bridge, her face shining with concentration and joy. "She's waiting," Sarah said softly. "She's always been waiting," Lucy added. "For you to understand," they finished together. Thomas stood in the heart of the impossible architecture he and Emma had created together, feeling the power of their combined vision humming through every ethereal beam and magical support. The bridge was more than just a structure. It was a testament to the connection between father and daughter, a proof that love could transcend even the boundaries between worlds. "I'm ready," he said, his voice steady despite the tears in his eyes. "I'm ready to complete what she started." The twins smiled their mysterious smile, their forms seeming to shimmer with that otherworldly light. "Then let the final piece fall into place," they said together, their voices echoing across realities. "Let the bridge become whole." The moment of completion arrived with a surge of power that made the very air crystallize around them. The bridge's structure, now fully materialized in both realities, began to shine with an inner light that outshone even the twins' ethereal glow. Thomas stood at the heart of it all, watching as the impossible became real before his eyes. "Now," Sarah commanded, her voice resonating with power, "take out the final drawing." With trembling hands, Thomas reached for Emma's last sketch, the one she had tried to show him on that fateful morning. He had kept it folded in his pocket since finding it among her things, unable to look at it until now. As he unfolded it, the paper seemed to come alive in his hands. "The keystone," Lucy explained, watching as the drawing began to glow. "The piece that will lock everything into place." The sketch showed something extraordinary, a perfect merger of Thomas's practical architectural style and Emma's magical vision. It was a blueprint for the very moment they were now experiencing, drawn by a child who could see far more than anyone had realized. "She knew," Thomas whispered, tracing the lines with his finger. "She knew this would happen. She drew it all out for me." "She saw the bridge before it existed," the twins said together. "She saw us coming to help you build it. She saw everything." The drawing lifted from Thomas's hands, floating to the center of the room where the crystal prism spun in its rainbow vortex. As the paper touched the light, it transformed, its lines becoming beams of pure energy that wove themselves into the bridge's structure. Through the portals that filled the walls, Thomas could see the effect rippling through both realities. The bridge was no longer just a construction of light and possibility. It was becoming something solid, something real, something that could hold the weight of love across the boundaries of worlds. "Look," Sarah called, pointing to the largest portal. "She's here." Thomas turned and felt his heart stop. There in the doorway between worlds stood Emma. She was exactly as he remembered her, but also somehow more, her presence radiating with the same ethereal light that surrounded the twins. She smiled at him, and in that smile was everything they had ever shared, everything they had ever dreamed of building together. "Dad," she said, her voice carrying across the gap between realities. "You finally see it. You finally understand." "Emma," he whispered, taking a step toward her. "I'm so sorry it took me so long to understand what you were trying to show me." She shook her head, her smile growing brighter. "You understood when you needed to, when you were ready. That's why I left you the blueprints, that's why I asked them to help." She gestured to the twins, who stood watching with their mysterious smiles. "We were honored to help," Sarah said softly. "To be part of building this bridge," Lucy added. "To help heal what was broken, they finished together." The bridge's structure continued to solidify around them, its impossible architecture becoming a permanent connection between worlds. Thomas could feel the power of it humming through his body, could sense the way it anchored itself in both realities. "But how?" he asked, looking between Emma and the twins. "How is this possible?" "Because love is the greatest architect of all," Emma explained, her voice carrying that same otherworldly resonance that the twins possessed. "It can build bridges between any worlds, cross any boundaries, heal any separation. You taught me that, Dad, even if you didn't know it." "I taught you?" Thomas asked, confused. "Every time you showed me your designs, every time you explained how buildings could change people's lives, every time you created spaces for people to live and love in, you were teaching me about the power of creation," Emma said. "I just saw it from a different angle." The twins moved to stand on either side of the portal where Emma waited, their presence strengthening the connection between worlds. The golden light that filled the room grew stronger, wrapping around all of them like a warm embrace. "The bridge is complete," Sarah announced. "The connection is permanent," Lucy added. "Anchored in love," they said together, "the strongest foundation of all." Thomas looked at his daughter, standing in the doorway between worlds, and felt his heart overflow with understanding and joy. This was what she had tried to show him all along, that love could build impossible things, that imagination could make dreams real, that the connection between hearts could transcend any boundary. "Come," Emma said, holding out her hand. "Let me show you what I've been building on this side. Let me show you how your practical designs and my magical additions can work together to create something extraordinary." Thomas stepped forward, reaching across the threshold between worlds to take his daughter's hand. As their fingers touched, he felt the bridge's power surge around them, felt the boundaries between realities dissolve in the face of something stronger than any separation, the endless architectural power of love. The world on the other side of the bridge defied all conventional understanding of architecture and reality. As Thomas stepped through the portal with Emma's hand in his, he found himself in a space that was both familiar and utterly magical. The structures around them seemed to be built from light itself, their forms shifting and flowing like living things. "This is what I've been working on," Emma said, leading him through the extraordinary landscape. "This is where imagination becomes real." Thomas looked around in wonder, recognizing elements from his own designs transformed into something far more magnificent than he had ever dreamed possible. Every practical line he had ever drawn had been elevated into something magical, every structural element reimagined with the limitless possibility of pure creativity. "You've been building all this time?" he asked, watching as a spiral staircase of pure light twisted upward into what seemed to be infinity. "Just like you've been building in your world," Emma smiled. "We've both been creating pieces of the bridge, Dad. We just didn't know it until now." The twins followed them through the portal, their presence seeming both more and less otherworldly in this realm of pure possibility. They moved through the space with familiar grace, as if they had always belonged here. "This is where we come from," Sarah explained, gesturing to the ever-changing landscape around them, the space between imagination and reality. "The place where dreams take form," Lucy added, touching one of the liquid light structures and making it shimmer with new patterns. As they walked, Thomas began to understand more about the true nature of architecture, not just as a way to create spaces, but as a means of bridging worlds, of making the impossible possible. Every building he had ever designed had held the potential for this kind of magic. He just hadn't been able to see it before. "Look," Emma said suddenly, pointing to a structure that was taking shape nearby. "This is happening in real time. Your newest design is forming here as you imagine it in your world." Thomas watched in amazement as one of his current projects materialized in this realm, but with Emma's magical additions seamlessly integrated into its structure. The building was both exactly what he had designed and something far more extraordinary. "The bridge works both ways now," the twins explained in unison. "What you create there becomes magical here, and what is magical here becomes real there," Emma finished, squeezing her father's hand. They came to a space that seemed to be the heart of this realm, a grand atrium built from pure light and possibility. The walls shifted and changed, showing glimpses of both worlds, of memories past and futures yet to come. "This is where I've been watching you," Emma said softly, "where I could see you working, creating, living. I wanted so much to show you what I could see, to help you understand." "And now I do," Thomas replied, his voice thick with emotion. "Thanks to you and thanks to them." He nodded toward the twins, who stood nearby, their forms seeming to merge with the magical architecture around them. "We were always meant to help," Sarah said gently. "To be the bridge between bridges," Lucy added. "To help heal what was separated," they finished together. Thomas looked at his daughter, seeing her now with both his physical eyes and his newly awakened spiritual sight. She glowed with the same ethereal light as the twins, but there was something more, a creative force that he recognized from his own heart, a desire to build and shape and transform the world. "You've become quite the architect," he said proudly. Emma beamed at him. "I learned from the best," she replied. "And now we can build together, across worlds, across realities, across any distance." The space around them seemed to pulse with possibility, as if responding to their shared understanding. Thomas could feel the bridge they had created strengthening, becoming a permanent connection between their worlds. "But how will this work?" he asked, looking between Emma and the twins. "How can we maintain this connection?" "The bridge is anchored in love," Sarah explained, touching one of the glowing walls. "And love knows no boundaries," Lucy added, her hand joining her sister's. "As long as you keep creating, keep imagining, keep believing," Emma said, "the bridge will remain. Every building you design, every space you create, will have a little bit of magic in it now, and I'll be here adding my own touches, just like I always did." Thomas felt tears in his eyes as he understood the full scope of what they had achieved. Not just a connection between worlds, but a permanent fusion of the practical and the magical, the real and the imagined, the physical and the spiritual. "We've done it, haven't we?" he whispered. "We've actually built an impossible bridge." Emma smiled, that bright, creative smile that had always lit up his world. "No, Dad, we've built something even better than that." "We've built a way to keep creating together," she continued, gesturing to the ever-changing architecture around them. "A way to keep dreaming together, a way to keep loving across any distance." The twins moved to stand beside them, their presence completing the circle of creation and connection. "The bridge is more than just a structure," they said together. "It's a promise," Sarah added. "A testament to the power of love and imagination," Lucy finished. Thomas looked around at this magical realm, at the daughter who had never stopped, trying to show him the truth, at the mysterious beings who had helped him remember how to see. He understood now that this was not an ending, but a beginning, the start of something extraordinary that would continue to grow and evolve with every new design, every new dream, every new moment of creation. In the days that followed, Thomas's world transformed in ways he had never imagined possible. His apartment remained the anchor point for the bridge between worlds, its spaces now filled with a subtle magic that visitors could sense but never quite define. The twins stayed with him, their presence maintaining the delicate balance between realities. His work at the architectural firm took on new life as he began incorporating elements of what he had learned. Each design now carried traces of Emma's influence, creating spaces that seemed to resonate with possibility. His clients couldn't explain why his buildings felt different, why they inspired such profound emotions, but they knew they were experiencing something extraordinary. "You're changing the world," Sarah observed one morning, watching as Thomas worked on his latest design, one building at a time. "Creating doorways everywhere," Lucy added, touching the drawings and making them shimmer with that now familiar golden light. Thomas smiled, knowing that somewhere in that other realm, Emma was adding her own magical touches to his practical designs. Their collaboration continued across the boundaries of worlds, father and daughter working together to create spaces that bridged the gap between reality and dreams. Every evening, he would stand before the main portal in his living room, now elegantly framed by an arch of light that the twins had helped him design. Through it, he could see Emma working in her realm of pure possibility, her creativity flowing freely as she transformed architectural concepts into magical realities. "The Tynlus bridge grows stronger every day," the twins would say, watching as new connections formed between the worlds. And they were right. Each new building Thomas designed became another anchor point, another place where the practical and the magical could meet. His architecture began to influence others, inspiring a new movement in design that emphasized the spaces between spaces, the possibilities that existed in every corner and shadow. Emma's presence became a constant in his life again, but in a way that was different from before. She wasn't just a memory anymore. She was a collaborator, a fellow architect working from a realm where imagination knew no bounds. Their relationship had evolved into something extraordinary, a partnership that spanned worlds and transformed both realities. The twins, too, had become an integral part of his life. Their mysterious nature now seemed less strange and more essential, as if they were living proof that magic and reality could coexist perfectly. They continued their role as bridge keepers, maintaining the delicate balance between worlds while helping Thomas understand more about the true nature of creation. One evening, as golden light filled the apartment and the bridge hummed with energy, Thomas sat with the twins in his living room, watching Emma work through one of the portals. "Did you know it would be like this?" he asked them. "When you first came to my door that night?" Sarah and Lucy exchanged their characteristic knowing look before Sarah spoke. "We knew the potential was there. In your heart, in your work, in your love for Emma," Lucy added. "We just helped you remember how to see it," they finished together. Through the portal, Emma looked up from her work and waved, her smile bridging the gap between worlds effortlessly. Thomas waved back, his heart full of joy and wonder at the extraordinary life they had built together. "Every architect dreams of creating something that will last forever," he said softly. "Something that will touch people's lives and change the way they see the world." "And now you do," Sarah replied. "With every building you design," Lucy added. "With every space you create," Emma called from her side of the bridge, her voice carrying clearly across the boundaries between worlds. Thomas looked around his apartment, at the subtle magic that now filled every corner, at the twins who had helped him remember how to dream, at the daughter who had never stopped believing in the power of imagination. He understood now that architecture was more than just designing buildings. It was about creating spaces where magic could live, where dreams could become real, where love could bridge any distance. The bridge they had built together stood as testimony to this truth, a permanent connection between the practical and the magical, the real and the imagined, the physical and the spiritual. It was their greatest creation, a collaboration between father and daughter that transcended all boundaries and transformed both worlds. As the evening light painted the room in shades of gold, Thomas picked up his pencil and began to draw, knowing that somewhere on the other side of the bridge, Emma was doing the same. Together they would continue to build impossible things, to create spaces where magic could flourish, to prove that love was indeed the greatest architect of all. The twins watched with their mysterious smiles as father and daughter worked together across realities, their creativity flowing freely between worlds. They knew, as they had always known, that this was just the beginning of something extraordinary. A new way of building, of seeing, of loving that would continue to grow and evolve with each passing day. For in the end, the greatest bridges are not built of steel and stone,